I can't see the point in voting. Politics has nothing to do with me. I mean, councils and stuff, they don't actually do anything, do they?
He reckons councils don't do anything. But what would this place be like without them? District councils decide what can and can't be built in their area. Otherwise, somewhere like this could end up like this. The district council gets your rubbish taken away. Otherwise, it would soon pile up.
Phew, what a stink. I bet the rats would love that.
The council gets rid of them too. And you couldn't go in there either as it's owned by
The district council?
You're learning. Or there.
But I'm desperate.
Tough. And while you're at it, you wouldn't have this place. And there'd be nobody to licence taxis.
Or people who pierce your ears.
And nobody to deal with noisy neighbours.
Check the kitchens of restaurants are safe to eat in. Get rid of abandoned cars.
Keep an eye on pollution.
OK, I get the point.
Hang on, there's more. As well as district councils, there's stuff county councils do, such as libraries, schools and roads. There's even town and parish councils who look after village halls and play areas.
So the council does do stuff that has an impact on me, but it do it whether I voted or not. One little vote isn't going to make a difference.
Not on its own, perhaps, but all those votes add up.
So you're doing causes of crime and activity and... Yeah. So tell me about it. Where would you put the £1 million?
Whitney MP and Conservative Party leader David Cameron comes to West Oxfordshire District Council's offices every year to see the Politics in Action Day, when students from local schools explain the kinds of things they would spend council money on if they were in charge.
They should bother voting because actually it makes a difference. If you get involved in politics, if you take part, if you vote, if you talk to your candidates or your councillors or your Member of Parliament, you can make a difference. That's what today is all about. That actually politics is about listening to people, it's then about making decisions, and then it's about explaining to people what you've done.
The energy we waste is a massive third of our energy spent on lighting, and will not be less necessary when our plan comes into effect. Tony Blair has scheduled that we will reduce our carbon emissions by 23% by 2030.
We want decisions to be made locally. Local people in West Oxfordshire should be able to decide how much priority to give to recycling, how much priority to give to housing, how do we keep our taxes down, what should we do to help transport. Those questions, more and more, should be decided locally. If you give people power and control over their own lives and over decision making, they feel not just happier, but they live in a better society.
For the young people involved, it's quite an eye-opener.
We plan to invest in building a brand new sports complex, doubling up as a conference centre.
Billy Joe Armstrong is the lead singer of Green Day, and he quotes, "You guys need to recycle." Yeah.
People do not want to have to pay to get the bus, to get the train, to go anywhere, and on top of that, to have to pay to use the sports facilities. Why should people do that? Sport is a right everyone should be allowed to do.
How many of you feel that when you do go out, you're overcharged?
Free or reduced bus and train tickets, similar to those available for OAPs, and organised activities for young people. Our ideas included reduced prices for things like cinema tickets and bowling.
By 2026, landfill sites will be full and rubbish will have nowhere to go. This is a serious problem and needs to be tackled.
Questions to the Prime Minister?
Mr. Speaker, before listing my engagements, I'm sure...
It's actually quite surprising how many people don't vote. In the general election of 2005, almost 40% of those people who had a vote didn't bother to use it. If all those people had voted for one party, they'd have won by a landslide.
In council elections, it's common for not even a quarter of voters to make their mark, even though the polling station, the place where you go to vote, is likely to be right around the corner.
By voting, you give your councillor the power to represent you when the council meets and talks about everything from house building to tourism and dog mess. So shouldn't you care who that councillor is and what they believe in?
It's my job and that of my colleagues to organise all the elections that take place in West Oxfordshire and to in fact organise people so that they can register to vote at those elections. Obviously we want to encourage people to vote, and we think it is important that they do vote because that's the way that people in this country do have the opportunity to influence how services are provided for them and for others. So that's why we have democracy. It's so that people have their say in a very formal way that eventually will influence who represents them at all levels of government, how they spend their money, the services they provide and who they provide them for.
For more than 100 years, people have been fighting and dying all over the world just for the right to vote.
In many countries, even now, ordinary men and women are struggling for that right. Many people in the poorest countries have been known to walk all day and all night just to register that vote. But it seems here we can't even be bothered to write a little cross on a piece of paper.
In some countries, like Australia and Belgium for example, people have to vote by law or else face a fine or sometimes prison. Surely here it's our democratic right not to vote if we don't want to.
But what if we didn't have councils or parliaments? How would we run our lives then?
What do you think?